this. Everybody, today I'm gonna be showing you how to make All right, let's get into it. So what you heard there is kind of my take on a genre that's really popular right now. Anyways, I guess I'll just start from the beginning here and take you guys through the different elements. For those of you wondering, the vocal there is just a sample I used from splice.com. But yeah, the intro. Really not much happening here. But first thing we've got at the top here is this respace. So you'll hear that. So that bass there is just this preset from Serum. I used a lot of these sounds from this pack I got the other night. It's called Car Cruising or something like that. It's meant for Slap House. What else we got here? Okay, yeah, so then down here we've got this guitar that I made. So I actually just recorded it on my guitar back there. Did some processing to it, so this is what that sounds like. Alright, so first thing I did was I just took out some of the lows in it and brightened up the top a little bit, just using Logic's EQ there. I used this pretty sweet amp from Slate Digital. It's called the THU Slate, and I actually just used the first preset that I tried on it. It thought it sounded sick. It's called Moody Picking. And then I threw on some sample delay, a little bit to the right, so that way it was kind of coming out both sides. So without any of the processing, that sounds like this. Pretty plain, but then with everything there, it's nice. And then just a classic down filter here, sort of a sweep, just to add a little bit of space to the intro. And then I made this piano. So this is from Contact. It's the Alicia Keys grand piano, kind of my go-to these days. It's just a super nice sounding piano. I think I left it on the default setting, but then did some processing to it here. So those are chords that sort of almost act as a melody in the intro there, and they come back in the drop later as well. So just, again, cut out the lows. Didn't like some frequencies around there, so cut those just a little bit, dip them down a bit. Use this Slate Digital FG2A. It's probably my favorite compressor right now. It's so sweet. It's just so easy, 2 knobs, and does such a good job, I find. I use Wider. This is a free plugin from Infected Mushroom just to get it out a little bit. And then just Logic's Chromaverb EQ. Pretty high decay on it because I wanted it to be super wet and just super spacey. Really, yeah, really heavy on the mix there. Vocal comes in. Got this sort of stab, like a bass stab type sound there. Another Serum sound. That one's from Big Z's pack, I believe. Yeah, Big Z's Sounds of 2020. This pad here, 2 pads actually. As you can see, I put spread on both of them just to get them out there a little bit. Sort of a classic snap here with some reverb. So I'm sending it to a reverb bus using lustrous plates. Sick reverb. Part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass. Not too, well, it's pretty heavily reverb there. The vocal,
I know you're telling me.
I used Little Altar Boy from Sound Toys just to bring the formant down. So without that, just thought it would sound kind of cool. Little bit of percussion, just this sort of like disco thing. Haven't done anything to that yet. Okay, so then coming into the pre-chorus, I actually switched to a different vocal sample here from Kara. She's got a lot of samples on Splice. She's really good. Little Altar Boy kind of did the same thing, brought the formant down a bit, and then reverb as well. Brought that intro guitar back in. The reason I brought that back for the pre-drop was because it shares a pretty similar rhythm to the bass line in the drop, so I thought it was kind of a good intro to that. Got a riser here. Faded it in a little bit there because it just came in kind of aggressively. I found that's really easy to do. All you have to do is just go to region here and you click fade in. Brought the piano back as well. And then I made this snare riser here. So basically this snare anyways, what I did was I loaded it into Logic Sampler, which is the EXS24. Okay, and then I filtered it in. So I used one knob filter from Waves. To those of you who are a little newer with Logic, the way you can bend your automation curves like I did there is you want to go to the secondary tool, or the first, whichever one. The secondary tool is what I do, and you want to click on Automation Curve Tool. And then hold Command, and you can bend those however you want. Okay, now the fun part, the drop. So obviously the key element of this genre and this song is really the bass. So the top bass or the mid bass that I've got going here is a preset on Serum. As you can tell, Serum's kind of my go-to synth. I also use Anna 2 a lot from Slate and a couple others, but so it's this BS around sound. I messed with some of the settings in here. I can't remember exactly what I did though, but yeah, so this is how that sounds. So I cut out the lows up to about 85 hertz to leave room for the sub bass. I used the CLA 3A just to compress it a little bit because the dynamics were sort of all over the place. I used Saturn to saturate it a bit just to add, I used the warm tube there just to add some harmonics and really make it sound a little bit more gritty and warm. And then Kickstart from Nicky Romero to have it bounce off the kick really nicely. And then what I did was I used Spread, which is this pretty sweet new stereo imaging plugin from DJ Swivel, fellow Canadian record producer. So he started making plugins, and basically what I did was I pulled this dial here down to 200. So that way everything under 200 hertz I had dead center, so mono. But then I wanted some of those upper harmonics to be a little bit wider in the stereo field. Thought it would sound pretty cool. So I pushed 200 to 3000 out a bit and then up there a little bit too. So now it's kind of covering everywhere. And then there's the sub bass. Pretty much plays the exact same rhythm. Cut out 20 and below because it was just kind of rumble that you don't really hear. And then I cut out 110 and pushed here around 60 just a tiny bit. Did the same kickstart setting. Wanted the exact same kickstart setting on both of these so that they flow together perfectly. And then I used the Logic's direction mixer to bring it completely center. So another cool thing to add energy to these bass lines is to do these reverse reverb pulls. So I'll just play those on their own. I'll show you how I make it really quickly. So what I'm going to do is just bounce this bass line in place. I'm going to pull all this away and just have the first note there. Okay, and then I'm going to throw a bunch of reverb on it, like with a long decay, maybe like even, I don't know, 4.5 seconds or so. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is bounce that in place. You can now delete this and then stretch it out. So now it carries that reverb with it. And then the cool part, you go to File, Functions, Reverse. Every DAW has a different way of doing this. This is just how you do it in Logic, or one of the ways you can do it in Logic anyways. And then now it's reversed that sound. So it's pretty cool. And it can just add a lot of energy. Maybe bring out that end so you don't have that click there. Anyways, so I did that with every different note in the bass line, and then just sort of place them appropriately so that they're pulling into the right notes. I've got this brass stab here. It's a serum preset, so I filtered it a bit just to bring out some of the harshness. Added some saturation to it. Kickstart, of course. I wanted a quicker one, sort of. And then spread. So the lead is 2 layers. Both serum. Haven't done much processing to them. So this melody, it's very simple. I just kind of wrote it. Added some kickstart to it. And then let's hear this one on its own. Pulled out some of those tops there. That's that for the leads. And then the kick. Haven't done much to that. Pretty standard. I got this crash for impact. Then there's this fill that comes here. Also for impact at the start of the drop. Had this. I put some chorus on it to get it in the stereo field a bit more, and some kickstart that didn't clash with the kick. In comes 2 claps. Pretty standard EDM claps. And then this extra melody, I forgot, comes in here, which is playing actually the same melody that the piano plays in the intro, except I just took out some of the notes and the chords so that it wasn't too scattered in here. So it's really just the root notes. Cut out the lows so that didn't interfere with the bass too much. I wanted this a little bit more centered because the other leads were pretty spread. Saturated it a bit. Other than that, it's just some more percussion, just this hi-hat. Put it a bit to the left. I like to put my hi-hats sometimes the same way that it would be on a real kit, like just a bit to the left if you're looking at it. And then I made this hi-hat loop here. I just put another hi-hat sample into Logic's sampler. One more thing I wanted to touch on, this vocal here.
Together we could be anything.
So what I did was I actually used the fade tool. So you can click the second tool here, hold Command, and you can fade the end of a sample, and then right click and click slow down on that fade. So what it'll do is as soon as the fade kicks in, it'll bring everything down and make that cool.
Anything.
There you have it, folks. That's how you make a Slap House banger. It's not 100% done yet, of course, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the song, guys. We'll play it through from the build up here.
Together